Welcome to the Belly Brain Connection. I'm Hannah Winans. I'm a certified functional nutrition counselor, and I'm on a mission to help educate people about the connection between their gut health and mental well-being. I believe our gut health is the cornerstone to our overall health, and when we nourish our bodies, we nourish our minds. Belly Brain is for informational purposes only. I'm not offering any kind of medical advice here. If you need medical advice, please consult your physician. Thank you for tuning back in. Today is episode 12. It's a beautiful, clear, sunny day in Humboldt County, California. And for those of you who live in Humboldt, you know when the sun comes out, it just changes everything. And everything's like day glow green and it's just bright and beautiful. Spring's around the corner, I can tell because things are starting to pop. I saw daffodils at my office. I saw cherry blossoms out this morning on my walk. I went for a beautiful sunrise walk this morning and got to see the sun come up and really just feeling grateful for being in such a beautiful place. And fun belly brain fact, exercise is really good for our gut microbiome. They're doing more and more research on that and finding the connection between exercise and our gut health and our diversity in our gut microbiome. In fact, there was a new study out, and I just shared that on my Facebook page, that they're finding that there's certain gut microbes that might drive people to want to exercise, almost like they crave more exercise. So in the past, I've talked about how our little belly buddies, how they can really drive our cravings. So if you have a very high sugar diet, your gut bugs start to adjust to that, and they can kind of make you crave more of those same things. And so they're starting to make a connection similar to that and exercise. So I can't wait to learn more about that and share that with you. But, just something as simple as going for a morning walk can really help your gut microbiome. And then getting that sunrise and getting that red light that at dawn, they're also making that connection and doing research on red light therapy, which I think a lot of you have probably heard about. But that red light that you get in a sunrise and how that can really affect your mental well-being. So I got a twofer. I got a great walk, and I got to do some belly brain work without really even having to think about it. Highly encourage it if you can do it. So for today, though, I thought I would expand on fermented foods. We talked a little bit about them last week. I also wanted to share a study with you that I learned about from Dr. Christopher Palmer, who wrote the book Brain Energy. And as you know, he's my health hero in all things brain energy, the brain energy theory, metabolic health, and mental health connection. And so this study is pretty alarming, and I just felt like I needed to bring it to the belly brain community. I think if you're listening to this, then you're going to want to know what I have to share with you. So we'll talk about that. And then for our food of the week, this week, in honor of Valentine's Day, it's chocolate. So I'm going to give you some good reasons to why it's okay to eat chocolate this week, especially dark chocolate, if you're a dark chocolate lover. I unfortunately am not. I just can't do it for whatever reason. I can in extreme situations. It's not like I would turn down dark chocolate, but I definitely am a milk chocolate kind of person. And unfortunately, there are not nearly as many health benefits in the milk chocolate as there are in the dark chocolate, but it's still okay to eat every once in a while. And we'll talk a little bit more about why. So for fermented foods, last week I said I was going to ferment a fruit and a vegetable. I did not. I got part of the way there. I bought the vegetable and I got everything ready, and I just ran out of time last week. So my real job got in the way of this, and it's just how it goes. But I do plan to ferment my carrots, which the recipe is very easy. It's just a matter of me getting it done. And then I wanted to try a fruit, but the more that I researched fruit, the more I got concerned. It sounds like it's much trickier than vegetables. And the more I was worried I was just going to end up making some kind of wine or beer. I don't know, it made me nervous. So I need to do a little more research on that. This whole fermentation thing is new to me. I mean, I've been eating fermented foods for a while, but not making them. So I'm learning as I go, and I will share with you my successes and, my failures in this process. But I need to find a fruit that I feel confident in fermenting, because a lot of them, it sounds like, turn to mush if you ferment them too long. It's a whole thing. So more to come on that. I did make a new batch of my L-Reuteri yogurt, which we talked about in one of the episodes. It's the episode where we covered the book Supergut by Dr. William Davis. He's got an L-Reuteri recipe in there. And L-Reuteri is a bacteria known to having a lot of really wonderful health components to it. really great for just overall wellness, skin, sleep, all kinds of things. And so I've made that yogurt before. I was making it again. It accidentally got turned off in the cooking process, and I don't know the rules there. I don't know what happens if you stop the process, even if it's for an hour or two, if you can just turn it back on and start it over again, or if you have to start from scratch. So I'm going to err on the side of caution and start from scratch, which is a bummer because I feel like I'm throwing away a bunch of almost yogurt, but I also don't want to grow some strange bacteria that does strange things to me. So we'll start over from that. And hopefully I'll have a success story to report to you next week. What was interesting this week, though, is that I found a fermented food that I'm super excited about, and it's fermented Moroccan beets. So I was at Wild Berries, which is a local grocery store in Arcata, and they have a great little fermented food section, and I found these beets, and I was super excited about them because it was just something new. I mean, I've been doing the sauerkraut, and I found a probiotics or fermented salsa, but I just wanted something different. And these beets are delicious. So I picked those up and I've been enjoying them all week. And I finally decided, well, I want to talk about this on my episode. And I was reading the back of the label so I could learn a little bit more about this company. The company is Wild West Ferments. And they're, I can't think of the name of the town, but they're here in California. And it seems like they're a small company that does kind of small batch fermented foods. And the beets are bright beet purple, and they're crunchy, and they have kind of more of a savory taste to them. So I've been incorporating them with my sauerkraut. So I'm kind of mixing that all up, and I put that on my arugula with some olive oil. Oh, it's so good. So really enjoying, a little overly excited about these things, but really enjoying my beets. So I was reading the back of the jar, and they had instructions for how to eat the beets. And I thought, well, that's weird. I don't really need instruction for that. Apparently you do. So with fermented foods, this is new to me. If you don't, so the instructions at the back of the jar said after you're done eating to push the vegetable, the beets, down into the brine. So kind of press it down into the brine so that's fully covered by the brine. And I didn't know why, so I researched this. So new thing I did not know. So with fermented foods, if the food escapes the brine, so if, it's kind of exposed to oxygen, then it can develop what's called COM yeast, Kahm. And the COM yeast actually looks like mold. It's kind of a weird filmy substance, moldy looking. And everything I'm reading tells me it's actually safe. It doesn't destroy the fermented food. You can wipe that yeast off the top of it. And still enjoy that food. But that's what that's all about. So there's a saying in the fermented food world, which is it's fine in the brine, which I thought was kind of cute. So you want to make sure that you keep whatever fermented vegetable fruit that you're eating, keep it covered by the brine if you don't want to develop the COM yeast. If you do develop the COM yeast, you can wipe it off. It's safe to eat. I had that happen to me with some sauerkraut, and this is before I knew what COM yeast was, and I thought it was mold. And I ended up throwing out the whole jar of sauerkraut. And I thought it was super weird that it even developed that because it had been in the refrigerator, for a while, and, it's fermented. So I thought it was weird that it was going bad. Well, it wasn't going bad. It just somehow the ratio of the brine and the sauerkraut got mixed up or it got too exposed. So I thought that was really interesting information. And I was excited to share it with you. COM yeast, it's not harmful. It's just kind of gross. It looks gross. So I don't know if I could still eat something after seeing that yeast on it. Maybe if I didn't want to waste the fermented food, or if I just really liked what it was that I was eating. But it doesn't look great. And you can Google it. There's all kinds of pictures of it if you want to check it out. But I thought that was interesting that there were instructions for how to eat fermented foods. The other thing that they pointed out was that you want to make sure that you're using clean utensils when you're taking the food out. So, you maybe don't want to cross-contaminate things because, again, it's live bacteria. You're growing it, or it is growing, or it has been grown, and it's something you just need to be aware of. So I thought that was good information to bring to you guys. I will report back on my fermentation process when I can actually get it done. Next up is the study that I wanted to share with you by Dr. Christopher Palmer. Oh, this study, it just hit me hard when I heard it. And I have found a couple similar studies that I'll post on the Belly Brain Facebook or Belly Brain website, bellybrain.com. If you go to the new this week section, That's where I post everything that I'm talking about in the most recent podcast. So I found a couple studies related to this. I haven't found this exact study, but I do trust Dr. Chris Palmer 100%. And what he had to say in this interview that he did on YouTube was that there was a study where 5,000 children from birth to 24 years old were part of the study, and researchers followed them, and they realized that the children who were the most insulin resistant at 9 years old were 5 times more likely to develop a psychotic disorder at the age of 24. So basically, 5 times is a huge, huge amount of number. And I think, if you've been a listener of my podcast, you realize we're beginning to make that connection between gut health and mental health and metabolic health and mental health. And that really is kind of on the forefront in the mental health world, is understanding that it seems to be all connected. But when we look at insulin resistance and we realize how many of our children are insulin resistant, have prediabetes, it's alarming. And we start making that connection to, well, gosh, could that have something to do with why we have so many people that have anxiety, so many young adults especially that have depression and anxiety? Let's look at that, right? What was their metabolic health like? What was their metabolic health like as children? What kind of foods are they eating? The things that drive insulin resistance. Ultra processed foods, sugar. Let's get this crap out of our kids' food. And I know it's hard as a parent because we're all so busy, and, our kids have gotten picky because I'm not going to go on too much of a rant here, but the food industry has pretty much addicted our children to all these highly processed foods. It's really hard to get them off anything, but small changes might be able to make a big difference. And if you have a child who's struggling with insulin resistance, or you have a child who has anxiety, ADHD, a mental health disorder, maybe that's something to look at. I don't want to diminish or give any kind of medical advice here, or diminish the mental health conditions that children have. But I think we need to really be looking at what they're putting in their bodies and their mitochondria, what that's doing in their metabolic health, because 5 times is a crazy number and it's scary. And I think that it can be empowering too, to understand that maybe there's some things that we can do to change that. So I'm going to be bringing more information in another podcast about that study. I'm going to dive deeper into that, but I just wanted to share that with you because it's huge. It's a huge number and really could explain a lot of what it is that we're going through in our society with our children and our young adults. So there's that. On a much funner, lighter note, chocolate, our food of the week. Valentine's Day is next Friday, and I know that I'm going to be trying to dodge sugar all week. It's like Christmas time, right? Like it's just everywhere, and you're trying to figure out, what can I eat? Should I eat it? Well, I'm going to say that chocolate in moderation, especially if it's dark, can be really, really good for you. It's okay to have a little bit of it. I am a milk chocolate girl. I just don't love dark chocolate. And like I said, I'll eat it in desperation if that's the only chocolate that's around, but it's not my go-to. But I will share with you some of the health benefits of dark chocolate, and then we can talk a little bit about how you can eat milk chocolate and maybe not feel too bad about it. So a little history on chocolate. Chocolate dates back to 4,000 years to ancient Mesoamerica. The Olmecs, Aztecs, and Mayans were the first to cultivate cacao beans. Or cocoa beans. I'm still confused on which one to call them. I'm going to call them cacao because that sounds more official. So we know that it's fermented. Chocolate is part of the process of making cocoa is the fermentation process of the cocoa bean or cacao bean. So it is a fermented food, which again, I don't want to say there's probiotics in there. I don't think that's the case, but there may be some prebiotic components to that. So it can be a gut healthy food if eaten in moderation and in its purest form. So for the belly part, the belly benefits of chocolate, according to the National Institution of Health, consumption of 85% cocoa dark chocolate improves mood in association with gut microbial changes in healthy adults in a randomized control trial. And they're saying it might be due to the polyphenols, which can function as prebiotics, which can your gut microbes. So they could be a gut-friendly food. So there's one reason why it's okay to eat chocolate this week. And then as far as the brain goes, so chocolate can improve brain function, mood, and stress levels, which can improve cognitive function and blood pressure. And there are chemicals known to be released by the brain when eating the chocolate, including serotonin, dopamine, and oxytocin. So that would explain why when we eat chocolate, if you like chocolate, I guess there's like a few people out there that don't like chocolate, and it just blows my mind. But if you eat chocolate and you love it, there's something that happens, right? It gives you kind of a really good feeling, overall feeling of satisfaction. And it's got to be that you're releasing those feel-good hormones. So I thought those were two interesting things to bring to you about chocolate. Now on milk chocolate, I have not found really any healthy reasons why you should be eating milk chocolate. But what I do recommend is if you're going to be having chocolate, try and look for the European chocolates because they're going to have less chemicals in them. So if you're looking for, especially milk chocolate, the fewer the ingredients, the better, as we know pretty much in all things belly brain, right? The less processed it is, the less ingredients that are on the back of that box, the better. And I've really found that the foods made in Europe, European chocolates, European candies, those have way less ingredients because they don't allow a lot of the ingredients in Europe that we allow in the United States in their foods. So if you're looking for milk chocolates to buy for somebody, some of these little stores like Grocery Outlet, some of these specialty stores have kind of these European brands that you wouldn't see in the larger supermarkets. I know that Eureka Natural Foods and Wild Berries here in Humboldt County, they have those kinds of chocolates there. And so they're pricier, which I can understand can be an issue for people, but buy less of it. You don't need a ton of it. And, enjoy the dark chocolate this week. Be careful with the milk chocolate. Try and get some, European style chocolates. Don't let the sugar train run over you all week. Just, get it out of your house. If you're going to bring it in, don't let the stuff linger too long because we know what sugar does to our blood sugar levels and our mood, and we don't need to be on that roller coaster. But, it's Valentine's Day. Let's enjoy some treats here and there. For those of you out there who've got kids, okay, let's talk about red dye, number 3. So I think most of us have heard that has been banned in the United States. Yay, it's a very small thing in the big world of all bad food dyes that are in our food, but it's something, right? But just be aware, it is not out of our food supply yet. It won't be. They're not required to pull it out until January 2027. And, Valentine's Day is all things red, right? Red velvet cupcakes, red cookies, like everything's red. So just be really aware that that's still the bad food dye that's in there. And, red dye number 3, it has carcinogens in it. It has toxins that affect the brain, and it can help promote thyroid dysfunction. It's really bad stuff, and it has really been in everything. So it's exciting to know that that's going to be out soon. But just be really aware that it's not out yet. And so in this season of all things red, just be aware and be careful because we don't need to be adding on top of the sugar and all that stuff, adding a toxic food dye in the mix. So on that lovely note, I'm going to wish you guys all a really happy Valentine's Day and stay safe out there. But no, I just really appreciate you all tuning in. If you know anybody in Humboldt that is fermenting foods and selling them, I would love to know more. I would love to maybe promote them on this show and just to have them maybe as a guest. I'm still really wanting to build this channel to where we can do interviews, and I need your support for that because nobody's going to want to interview until I've got a little bit more of a following. And so please like and share and comment and do all those things so that we can help grow this channel and grow this community of Belly Brain and all the Belly Brainers out there. I would love to make this, again, a place where we can help spread the word and empower people to really understand that connection. So thank you so much. We'll see you next week. Next week, we're going to talk about glyphosate on our food and our food system and what that's doing. It's all over the place, and there's ways that we can avoid it. It's pretty harmful. And I think a lot of you who follow have probably heard about it, but I want to take a deeper dive into it and talk about the the foods that it's in, and some alternatives and what it's doing to our bodies and to our children's bodies and how we can try to avoid it. So thanks again, you guys. I appreciate you tuning in. Have a great week. Bye.